Hello, you beautiful people. I am your host, King Aaron, with a Kokomi video guide. I've put together this quick little display on the screen here. It encompasses a good majority of things I will be talking about today. This is the last video of 3 that have been released. If you haven't seen the other videos, I highly recommend you check it out, as your view helps me out a whole lot. But with that, let's get right into the video. To start off, we'll be talking about her talents. Her normal attack is the least impactful part of her kit, since she will rarely be using only her normal attack. How it works is she attacks 3 times consecutively, dealing hydro damage with each attack. These attacks home in on enemies and will deal damage in a very small AoE. The last hit in this chain deals increased damage but has increased end lag. So generally you will want to dash cancel out of the third. Like all other characters, she comes with a charged attack and a plunging attack. Both will also apply hydro damage. The plunging attack you'll rarely want to use, as like most other characters, whereas the charged attack you can use in certain situations, but it's all around not her best option. However, if you do use her charged attack on top of something like an Albedo elevator or a Zhongli pillar, it will hit an enemy that is directly next to the pillar, directly in front of her, and directly below her. Her elemental skill summons a jellyfish that applies hydro to everything it hits, and Kokomi as well. It only applies hydro to Kokomi on its initial summon. Every few seconds, the Bake Kurage deals hydro damage to surrounding opponents and heals nearby active characters at fixed intervals. The healing is based on Kokomi's max health, whereas the damage is based on her attack. Now for her elemental burst, all you need to know about it is that it's an auto attack stem that has her deal increased damage based on her max health, and it allows her auto attacks to heal herself and all allies. When her normal and charged attacks hit opponents, Kokomi will restore HP for all nearby party members, and the amount restored is based on her max health. It also increases her resistance to interruption, allowing her to tank bigger hits without going flying, increasing her healing capabilities. However, she still can go flying, and she does quite often. While in her elemental burst, she also is able to walk on water, and all of these effects are cleared once Kokomi leaves the field. There are certain things you should know about this ult that can be kind of annoying. To start, if you basic attack with her before you cast your elemental burst, you will not gain the healing from that single auto attack. However, it is the same thing if your elemental burst ends as an auto attack you already cast is going towards an opponent. You will also not receive the healing. Her healing auto attacks do not snapshot. Next, if an enemy is submerged in water but can still stand and will not immediately die, you cannot hit them with her auto attacks. They will just hit the water and the enemy will be immune, basically rendering her ult useless at fighting on water, unless the enemy is really big. For Kokomi, your talent priority is going to be her elemental burst, then her skill, and then her basic attacks. Her burst gives her the most increases in the most places, whereas her basic attacks do the least for her. However, if you only want her to be an off-field support, you only need to level up her elemental skill. Now onto her passives. Her first one gives her a 25% healing bonus increase, but decreases her crit rate by 100%. So basically, just don't build crit. You could, but it's not very good. Her talent unlocked at Ascension 1 allows her Bake Kurage's duration to refresh when Sengonomiya Kokomi casts her elemental burst. This is the main reason why the 4-piece Heart of Depth is not her best artifact set. In order to utilize this passive efficiently, you would have to initiate a fight with her skill, then switch through your team only to go back to Kokomi afterwards. If you really want to utilize Heart of Depth, Sacrificial Fragments is a great option specifically for that, since the cooldown reset has a chance to proc each time the jellyfish damages an enemy. I will go over this a bit more with her optimal rotations. Her next passive, unlocked at Ascension 4, allows her normal and charged attacks to deal increased damage based on 15% of her healing bonus. She only gets this damage bonus when she is in her elemental burst form. This is the main reason why you would want to run a healing bonus circlet and two-piece Maiden's Beloved on Kokomi. If she did not have this, those stats would be worthless. So if you're earlier on, you should be focusing more on energy recharge and HP percent. Now for her constellations. Her first constellation, while in her elemental burst, the final normal attack in her combo will unleash a swimming fish to deal 30% of her max health as hydro damage. This damage is not considered normal attack damage. They give you this constellation in Kokomi's story quest. If you do want to try it out, all you need to do is go and do that quest. This constellation is probably one of her best, as it allows her to deal a big chunk of damage in her auto attack chain. It deals over double the auto attack damage of the third auto attack in her auto attack chain. If you want to think of it this way, it basically allows her third auto attack to crit with HP scaling instead of critical damage scaling. Her second constellation gives her healing bonuses when an ally is at 50% or less HP. These healing bonuses apply to her Bake Karage and her normal charge attacks. Her third constellation increases the level of her elemental burst by 3. Her fourth constellation is another pretty good one, as it increases her normal attack speed in her elemental burst by 10%, and when a normal attack hits an opponent, it will restore energy to her. Her fifth constellation increases the level of her elemental skill by 3. Her final sixth constellation gives her a 40% hydro bonus when she heals a character with 80% or more health. This is always going to be active because of how insane Kokomi's healing is, so it's essentially just a 40% hydro damage bonus while she is in her elemental burst, but with extra steps. You should know that Hydro Resonance does not increase the damage dealt by this passive bonus. Her best weapons are Prototype Amber, Everlasting Moonglow, Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer, and Mappa Mare. You okay, Chloe? You flapping? Who's my little flappy flapper? Her best weapons are Prototype Amber, Everlasting Moonglow, Mappa Mare, and Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer. Prototype Amber and Everlasting Moonglow do essentially the same thing. Everlasting Moonglow is just a bit better. It increases her damage more than Prototype Amber. However, Prototype Amber comes with better energy regeneration unless you have Kokomi's C4 or some other attack speed boost. When you are running her with more attack speed, then her donut becomes hands down her best weapon, whereas Prototype Amber and Moonglow generally compete around the same spot. You okay, Flapper? You're so cute. Another downside to Moonglow. You okay? You're flapping so much. You okay, little flapper? You're just looking at me every time I ask if you're okay. The other downside to Moonglow is that you need to be constantly auto-attacking with Kokomi, whereas with Prototype Amber, if you are knocked around, which you will be knocked around quite a bit, the passive effect will still be proccing. Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer allows her to be an attack buffer for someone on her team while still allowing her to focus on healing. This is just like the 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith set. If you want, you could definitely stack both of these and allow her to be a super buffer, better than Kujo-Sara, and it's also a lot easier. However, this will ruin her optimal rotation, similarly to Heart of Depth. These downsides don't make these options bad. They are more or less just something that you should be thinking about while you're playing Kokomi. You also have the option to go Sacrificial Fragments if you want her to be an off-field support with constant jellyfish uptime. Onto her artifacts. She has 3 major ones you could use: Heart of Depth, Tenacity of the Millilith, and Maiden's Beloved. You could also run 2 pieces for each of them. The 4-piece Heart of Depth artifact set works best if you want to run a DPS Kokomi. However, it only enhances her DPS capabilities without contributing to any of her supportive ones. The 4-piece Tenacity set amplifies what she's already good at, as well as opening up a new buffer position in your team. She is also one of the only 2 characters in the game that fully benefits off of the 2-piece and 4-piece of Tenacity of the Millilith. You could also run the 4-piece of Maiden's Beloved for a super healer build. However, that's all you'll be doing, and her passive does not benefit off of the 4-piece bonus of Maiden's Beloved, so you won't be getting any increased damage off of that. The 2-piece sets are all around practically the same. There are a few key differences where they are generally better, but it's not by much. Heart of the Depth and Tenacity of the Millilith set are best in an off-field damage position. So if you mainly want to use her to apply Hydro and you don't have someone like Mona, this is best set for you. A Maiden's Tenacity set will make her more of an all-around bruiser. That way she'll be tanking and healing through everything, more than she already was. The 2-piece Heart of the Depth and Maiden's Beloved is all around probably her best option if you want to have more versatility in your Kokomi and allow her to do all of the other positions other than the 4-piece Tenacity set. When choosing what to go on your artifacts, you have a few options. For her Flower and Feather, they are always the same, so she'll be having HP and attack bonus for the main stat. For the main stat of her Sands, it will almost always be HP percent, but if you have HP percent in the other 2 positions, you could always run an energy recharge Sands. A Hydro Goblet is best here, but you could run an HP percent Goblet as well. A similar situation occurs with the Circlet, whereas the best one is the Healing Circlet. However, you could just run an HP percent Circlet as well. For the substats of your Kokomi, you will mainly want to aim for HP percent and energy recharge. Everything else is generally a dump stat. Base health does not give you enough to really benefit off of, and will end up becoming oversaturated due to everything you're already going to be building on Kokomi. The attack stat she barely benefits off of because it only impacts the base damage of her auto attacks and her Bake Kurage. Defense is the worst stat in the game by far. You can go Elemental Mastery on her, however if you do want to go an Electro Charge team, it will not impact her damage because only Electro characters as of this recording can proc the Electro Charge reaction. I will talk more about reactions and what teams she is best in later on in the video. And then for the last 2 stats, obviously she does not benefit from critical damage or critical rate due to her passive. Now onto her teams. Because she can't crit, she herself does not benefit as much as other characters would from Vaporize reactions or freeze comps. I believe that Kokomi is designed to be built specifically around Electro units, as it seems like the trend for Inazuma. She does not benefit as much as other characters would from the Pyro Resonance boost, and because she can't crit, she does not benefit as much from Vaporize as others would. She can be used in a freeze team as the Hydro Applicator, however, she herself will not be benefiting from the Cryo Resonance. As stated before, she also does not benefit all that much from Hydro Resonance, which is very odd. Electrocharge, Crystallize, and Swirl are the other reactions in the game, and they are all reactions that cannot crit, just like Kokomi. So she will not be dealing less damage just because she can't crit. She does not benefit a whole lot from Geo Resonance, however the other 2 resonances she does benefit somewhat, if not a whole lot from. Anima Resonance allows her to position and reposition both herself and her Bake Kurage a lot easier. This is especially useful with the Bake Kurage since you cannot move it at all after you first place it. Electro Resonance is really good for her because she will always be applying a reaction of some sort to proc the passive, and she benefits greatly from increased energy regen. Some things to know about Kokomi team building is that she works best with characters who provide EM elemental mastery buffs to herself and her allies. Protection Shred also increases Kokomi's damage the most when compared to that or attack. because she benefits very little from attack boosts. So generally a character that can shred a lot of hydro protections from characters will be paired really well with Kokomi. She also works best with reactions where you can't crit. She does not work well with attack boosts, as said before, because only her base auto attacks and her base Ake Kurage damage scale with attack. Her ult damage increases only factors into account health. Therefore, I believe that her best teammates are Electro and Animo users. For Electro units, I believe Fischl is her best teammate since, well, Oz is just kind of a cat, and she can always proc him. It especially helps since her auto attacks are homing. Beto is another unit that is really good to pair with Kokomi. She gives Komi AoE Electro application on her auto attacks, which helps apply Electro Charge to everyone around Kokomi. Raiden Shogun is also a really good pair for Kokomi, as she herself will help Kokomi get her elemental burst back a lot quicker, and both of their skills work with each other's. So if Raiden activates her skill and then Kokomi activates hers, on activation of Kokomi's, will be hit with the coordinated attack from Raiden's skill and have Electro Charge applied to them. I would say Raiden is generally her best friend when it comes to single targets, whereas Beto is her best when it comes to groups of enemies. For Animo characters, it's generally best to get EM-based units or EM buffers like Kazuha and Sucrose, as they will allow Electro Charge to deal increased damage, which Kokomi and her team will be constantly proccing. Kazuha, especially C1 Kazuha, is definitely her best friend, whereas Sucrose is really good too. However, she shines with Kokomi more so during the early game, as they can constantly be applying Hydro Swirl. There's some other characters that can work very well with Kokomi, those being Electro Traveler, Zhao, and Jingshou. Electro Traveler is a really good free-to-play option if you don't have one or two of the other Electro units, as they will allow Kokomi to get her elemental burst a lot quicker, while also helping her apply Electro Charge. She also works really well with Zhao, since she can constantly heal through Zhao's elemental burst self-damage. Jingshou is another character that can work decently well with Kokomi because he applies Hydro Shred, so Kokomi will deal more damage, and he allows her to heal a lot more, as well as mitigating some damage for her. That being said, if you want to use Kokomi as she is designed to be played, the optimal rotation for her would be to use her elemental skill first, then have the rest of your team do what they need to do, and then go back to Kokomi and activate her burst. So for example, if we have a team of Kokomi, Fischl, Beto, and Kazuha, the optimal rotation would be Kokomi skill, Kazuha skill for the protection shred and hydro damage bonus, Kazuha burst, Fischl skill, Beto skill into Beto burst, and then Kokomi's burst. However, if you run her with something like Heart of Depth or Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer, you're going to be having a different optimal rotation for your skills and bursts. That's all I have on my guide for Kokomi. I believe that she is a very strong unit, however, she is lacking in the damage category, but she could do everything else quite fine. If you do like how she looks, you should definitely pick her up, as she is a very strong unit and can solo carry you through a vast majority of the game's content with very little effort. Lastly, I want to thank everyone who made it this far into the video. I hope you enjoyed it and my videos yet to come, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye!